Welcome, everyone, to the Green Room podcast. We have a special episode for everyone tonight. We will be focused in specifically on your Philadelphia Eagles and what they are going to do in the upcoming NFL draft, which is just 2 days away at this point. I will be one of your co-hosts tonight, along with Mark DiGiovanni. Mark, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, my man. Doing great.
That's awesome. And we have a couple guests here tonight that are going to give us their thoughts on what the Eagles should do in the upcoming draft. So, Mark, you want to do the introductions for these guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of squares on the screen, but we'll start bottom up. So we'll go first square, our guy, friend of the show, Alec, the process Leapsh. Alec, how we doing tonight?
It's a beautiful night here in Philadelphia, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Love it. And then we'll move up, familiar face of the show, great guy, the producer, the editor, the man behind everything, Andrew Sven Sully Ken.
What's up, boys? Hey, it's kind of nice to not be behind the driver's seat tonight, not be hosting. It's going to be interesting for me to offer my opinion for once, and I'm sure you're going to love it tonight. I have a lot in store for you.
And then last but not least, the young man who's still at Drexel University, Hill Keisker. Hill, how's it going, buddy?
Doing my best day by day and hoping the draft just gets there a little bit quicker every day.
There you go. Those are the folks, man. We got a loaded room here, Otto.
Yeah, excited about this one. Excited to have some guests, some different perspectives. We're going to talk about what these scenarios and kind of what the challenge will be tonight for tonight's show in a little bit here. But we want to kick it off, by talking about where the Eagles currently stand and what their needs are heading into the 2022 draft in a couple of days here. So I think we'll hand this over to our guests first, allow each one to talk about the 2 or 3 positions in need they think are really at the top for the Eagles and why. And then maybe Mark and I will give ours, and then we will discuss what each one of the guests will be presenting for their draft scenarios for the rest of the show. So without further ado, we'll hand it over back to Alec to discuss what he thinks are the positions in need for the Birds this year.
So, I think a few of these are pretty obvious that anybody can put 2 brain cells together and realize them. And linebacker, I think, is the most obvious one. But I also know, I've been following the Eagles for my whole life. They are not going to take a linebacker. They have not drafted one in the first round in 45 years. So I'm going to say my main 2 needs for relevance are wide receiver, because it is a pass-heavy league, and though I like Quez Watkins, I cannot have him be the number 2 receiver again. And it is impossible to evaluate Jalen Hurts if the receiver core stays as it is. Zach Pascal is not the savior. And to counter that, I think secondary is the other really big position, because it's a pass-heavy league. So if you're going to invest heavy on that on offense, you got to do it on defense too. And Darius Slay's getting up there. Another great safety would be nice. I know you two love a certain guy from Notre Dame, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with the needs there. Mark, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Alec. I think linebacker's the top need, but will they pull the trigger? I don't know. But yeah, I'm with Alec. They need help in the secondary. They need help at receiver. They pretty much need help anywhere. This team, they're still a rebuilding team. So yeah, I really like where Alec's head's at.
Andrew, what do you got for the top needs for the Birds?
Well, I'll be a little bit lame to start with my first. I'll follow suit with Alec, and yeah, linebacker is definitely a big priority because, I can name at least one player at every other position on the team, but I cannot name a single player at linebacker on the Philadelphia Eagles because, Howie Roseman just apparently doesn't have eyes. He doesn't have ears. He has nothing. The guy is just a soulless, heartless piece of crap who has no idea what he's ever doing. I'll get more into him in a little bit. That's first off. I'm going to go with a very big hot take now. The other biggest need on the team is quarterback. They need a quarterback because Jalen Hurts is not the answer. He is fine for the team's, present day needs, but he's not going to bring you a Super Bowl. You're not going to see Jalen Hurts on a float on Super Bowl day parade. It's never going to happen. So I'm going to say quarterback because nobody else on this podcast would. So yeah, I'm Jalen Hurts, not the answer.
Mark, what do you got for Sven? I see you laughing there. What do you think about Sven's hot take there?
I mean, the Howie Roseman comment, man, that is just gold out of Andrew Kent right there. I don't necessarily agree with the quarterback as the biggest position in need going in. I think that's something you can kick down the road for next year, but is Jalen Hurts the answer? I don't know. That's why we're going to give him this year. And Andrew, no one thought Nick Foles ever would be on a Super Bowl float, but sure enough, we live in a world where Nicky Foles didn't end up winning a Super Bowl. So you never know. But I don't know if quarterback's the biggest position in need, but it could be next year.
I think to just comment on Andrew's take there, I agree. I think that quarterback is a position of need. However, I don't think this is the draft necessarily to address it. So I think that, like Mark said, we kick the can and we take a shot with Jalen Hurts. But I do agree that that is absolutely a position in need. And if it's ever a position in need, it's one of your top positions in need due to the positional importance there. So let's give it over to Hill. It's going to be hard to beat the hot take there, but Hill, go ahead and take your shot, buddy.
I mean, I kind of stick with what everybody originally was saying. I think that my most important right now is going to be wide receiver. With our few linebacker pickups over the last few months, I feel like we're kind of more comfortable there. I still think that we may go in a different direction at some point in the draft, at least. I think you still got to pick up a new face, bring someone in that's going to be youthful and learn from these couple guys that have some years underneath them and that are actually pretty good at this moment. Then I think corner is our next biggest right now. And they're really, other than Slay, you have Maddox, who came off of a dynamic year last year, but I really don't believe just those two are going to be something that's going to continue to solidify a defense in the future. And they're definitely not both captains. Big Play Slay is definitely somebody out there commanding the field, and everybody's listening to him and leading him. Do not get that twisted. But between the two of them, they're definitely out there more to have fun instead of, lay the big hit.
Absolutely. I think corner is just a huge position in need. Alec talked about, passing league. This is huge. Hill, to your point, Maddox is, a very good player. I thought he played about as well as we could expect last year, but he's a slot guy. Right. We need another outside corner. Slay's getting up there in age. You need to get someone in underneath Slay to learn underneath that veteran. So I agree. Huge position in need there. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of like what Alex said with the with being a passing league. We're seeing teams now chuck the ball about 40 to 50 times a game. And yeah, like to Hill's point, is it Maddox that outside guy? No, he's more of that, center field, free safety or slot corner type of guy. So you do definitely need a guy on the outside. And when was the last time the Eagles actually drafted a solid corner on the outside? I mean, you look at our team's history through signing guys like Asante Samuel, Nnamdi Asomugha, who flopped. But I'm just saying that seems to be that trend. And then they, recent years we had Byron Maxwell, Nolan Carroll, Bradley Fletcher. I mean, how many free agents do you want to throw in that spot? And then obviously you trade for Slay, which is a good trade, but you definitely need some young blood there, I think.
I agree. All right. So all of our guests have given what they believe is the top needs for the Philadelphia Eagles in the upcoming draft. Now we are going to shift into why we really had guests on the show today. So we've seen a lot of talk recently about the Eagles. Obviously, 2 picks in the first round. At one point had 3, the most of any team. Made that great trade. Howie Roseman with a phenomenal trade, Andrew, with the Saints earlier this month. But anyways, the Eagles have been rumored potentially moving up, right? In the draft, there's potential rumors about them moving back. If you move back, you gain another pick for next year. Do they stay put? There could still be some good talent there. There's a lot of rumors around the Birds right now. They're one of the most interesting stories going into the draft this year. So we brought on guests today to get some input, right? From some local guys in Philadelphia as to what they believe the Birds should do with their first 2 or their 2 first-round picks in the draft on Thursday. So essentially what each guest is going to do is they are going to run us through their scenario as to what they believe the Birds should do with the number 15 and the number 18 overall picks in the first round. They don't have to make picks with those picks. They can trade up, they can trade back, they can trade picks for the future, or they can make picks there, right? The picks or the trades have to be realistic, but we're doing, really anything that they want to do with these picks that are, within the realm of possibility, the guest can present here. We will go guest by guest and allow them to present their scenario without Mark and I commenting on them after each scenario. And then at the end, Mark and I will both choose which guest scenario we would like to see the most on Thursday night. So with that being said, we will jump into this. Alec, you've led it off to start here, so we'll hand it over to you with your scenario for the Birds.
So I think that the Eagles have like a very set list of guys that they want to target with these picks. And I don't believe that any of them are quarterbacks, because I don't think they make that Saints trade if they wanted to go get a quarterback. They wouldn't have just kicked the can down the road with that extra first, right? I also think that the quarterback noise has been a little too silent at the top of the draft with these top 10 to 12 teams. And I do think that there's going to be teams that move up. The Saints have 16 and 19. They are obviously QB desperate. I think the Falcons are right there. The Panthers, the Seahawks, of all those teams could potentially pursue a quarterback. The Panthers especially been rumored with Kenny Pickett because Matt Rule tried to recruit him back in college. So I think the more QBs that go in this draft, the better for what the Eagles want to do. And I think that potentially 3 or maybe even 4 quarterbacks could go before the Eagles even have to make a pick. And I think that will make it easier for them to just have a guy fall to them. I think if needed, they could like shore up a trade by like trading to 13 with the Texans or 12 with the Vikings. But I really don't think they'll need to. I think whoever those top guys are, and I think it's probably between like Hamilton, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, Jameson Williams, or Garrett Wilson, one of those guys, I think will just fall to them and they'll be fine. And then with 18, they can evaluate if another of that top tier group is there, then they'll just take him, and if not, just trade back. So I guess that's a long-winded say of saying it depends, but trade up for one of those guys if necessary. If not, just let the chips fall as they may. And then with 18, probably trade back, get an extra asset, and get like a another position like a McDuffie or Jermaine Johnson if Jordan Davis is still there. Some guy like that. Yeah, that's basically it. Like let the chips fall as they may and be passive aggressive.
So we're gonna lock you into 2 picks here, Alec. If you're gonna trade up, who's your target? And if you're gonna trade back at 18, it sounds like who would the player be if you had to just name a player and throw it out there?
Up, Jameson Williams. I know the injury is a concern to some teams, but it seems like all things considered, he's on the right track to recovery, and he is a perfect complement to Devontae Smith in terms of bursting that field wide open and helping Hurts actually increase his arm strength potentially. And then as a trade back guy, if they trade back to like, let's see, the early 20s, I'll go with, how about, since Kyle Hamilton will be gone, Daxton Hill.
Okay. All right. Well, we will hand it over now to Andrew Kent. What do you got?
Well, let me just say this. What I'm about to say, what I'm about to say is something that nobody's my odds of beating Alec and Hill are probably not too high right now. But what I will say is that this is not what I want the Eagles to do. This is what they're going to do on Thursday night in the first round. Okay, so you got the 15th overall pick. If I'm the Eagles, you keep both picks, 2 first-round guys, bring them into the offense or defense. They immediately make an impact on either side of the field. That's what you need to do right now, is just keep those picks. And you know what? The smart choice for the Eagles and the route they should go is by taking somebody from the SEC with both picks. as Mark always says, if you don't take an SEC guy, you're pretty much a dumbass. Uh, so what I think, and Mark is just dying right now, which I'm loving because he's about to turn that frown, or the smile is about to become a frown because he's gonna get really ticked off what I'm about to say. So at 15 overall, how I just said that we really need a quarterback really badly because Jalen Hurts stinks. Well, they're gonna pick Kenny Pickett, 15th overall. They are gonna do it. The reason being, it's just hard for me to keep my composure right now because my God, the GM is just terrible. Howie Roseman, he's the worst GM in the history of the NFL. But the reason why he's going to pick Kenny Pickett, and this is just terrible, but he's going to mistake him for a defensive player because his last name is Pickett. And then it's a picket fence. So he's going to say, crap, why the heck did I pick somebody that's not a defensive player? His name's Pickett. He's supposed to be a picket fence. What the heck? Now, that was a bad joke and everything. But anyway, or a picket sign. Yeah, Alec just texted me. Picket sign, thank you. Either or, whatever. So Kenny Pickett, 15th overall. It's a done deal. And I know Mark probably hates that pick. Otto, he's one of your top QBs, so I think you don't mind it as much. Now here's a little more interesting of a scenario here at 18. So does anybody else remember a player by the name of Marcus Smith? Yeah. So remember Marcus Smith was supposed to be like a 3rd round pick, and Howie wrote it was it Howie or was it Chip Kelly, our former coach? Whoever was in charge at that point, we have no idea because the front office has been a disaster forever. But Marcus Smith, supposed to be a 3rd round pick. But you know what? He might not be there by the time we get to the 3rd round. So let's just pick him in the 1st round instead. So the Eagles probably going to like some guys that are in the 3rd round this year. So one guy is kind of found in the scraps in the late 2nd round, early 1st, is somebody named Tariq Woolen from Texas San Antonio, a cornerback. That's who I think they will pick. Now, the smart pick would probably be somebody like, Nakobe Dean from Georgia, the linebacker. We probably could use him. He's probably really good. But now let's just pick somebody from Texas San Antonio because why the heck not? If he's not going to be by the 3rd round, let's pick him in the 1st round. So that's exactly what I think is going to happen.
All right. So thank you, Andrew, for that scenario. We will now jump over to our last guest scenario of the night. Hill, what do you think the Eagles should do with their 2 first-round picks on Thursday?
So I think that we're going to start off with kind of surprising everyone, but I think it's going to be good, at least in my eyes. And I think we're going to get Nakobe Dean from Georgia. I think he's going to be the biggest presence that's going to be out back there. I know we got Kaiser to help try and fill in that middle, but I really feel like bringing in Dean, he knows a defense. He really does his homework every time. He goes out there and he makes sure he knows who he's playing. And he's someone I see as like more of a Bobby Wagner in the future, somebody that's really going to be able to be going downfield or be able to be a key person in a pass defense, someone that can play zone or just basically do whatever because he's just that much of a Swiss Army knife. Then after that, I think that you're gonna want to have to take the best receiver prospect, but to be honest, I think it might be Jameson Williams there, and I don't really like that pick. I think that you got to go Drake London because personally, you got to give Jameis size. If you're going to give Jameis a chance and you want to have the best receiver that's on the board that gives you the best opportunities for future value, you're going to want to have that big man. And we haven't had that guy in forever. And that's why I feel like we overuse our tight end so much. If you can get even more pressure off of Goddard, you already had him wide open last year. Get somebody else like Devontae Smith, who you're out there, who's a key route runner, one of the best, if not the best out there on the field when you're on offense. Get him the ball and then get back downfield, and you have Drake London for those red zone catches.
So just to clarify, we heard the two players that you want to choose. You're staying put at 15 and 18 to make those two picks.
I feel like you can't move from those two picks. The reason we got rid of that extra one is just in case. I mean, if Jalen doesn't work out, or heck, there you see a better prospect that you're already seeing this year that you want next year, especially at corner, which we were mentioning earlier, is a key ingredient to this defense that's going to be there.
Right. Mark, do you want to choose first?
Yeah, I can go first. This is interesting. I think I kind of agree with everyone to a certain extent. I mean, Andrew kind of just went off the rails, but I kind of agree with Andrew and his point with that you got to take guys from the SEC because that's the best conference. But I kind of like what Alex said. It kind of depends what happens. You don't know what's going to happen with these quarterbacks, and there are a lot of teams rumored to go up and trade for a quarterback. So maybe where the Eagles are at 15, maybe a team calls us and says, hey, we really want this guy who's going to be there. Maybe you trade back from 15, maybe you trade back from 18. I think that opens up some possibility. And then, like Hill said, I kind of like staying put 2. If there's a guy you really fall in love with and you're worried if you trade back, that guy may not be there. But if I had to agree with one person, I'm going to go with, this is tough. I really like what Hill said going with Nakobe Dean. I think he's my top guy. So I kind of agree with Alec and Hill. It's just like I agree with Alec on like seeing how the draft plays out, but I agree with Hill in taking Nakobe Dean. I disagree in taking Drake London. I think that guy's gonna be another J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. But I kind of like where his head's out with Jameson Williams. And also, like Alex said, hey, how many Alabama guys can you bring in? You have to bring in a lot of, they win. Hey, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson. Why not have Jameson Williams come up here? So I'm gonna have to go with the mix of Alec and Hill. Sorry, Andrew, the Kenny Pickett thing. Come on, man. They're not taking a QB, and Kenny Pickett ain't going anywhere. He's going maybe to Carolina.
Whoa, wait. First of all, since when can you have 2 people that win? You have to pick somebody. Second of all, Kenny Pickett's going to be better than Jalen Hurts. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I got to agree here with Andrew. I think you do have to pick one.
I was just about to enforce that myself.
All right. So if I had to pick one, I'll go with Hill just because of Nakobe Dean. I'll go with Hill because I like what he said about Nakobe Dean. I think he does have potential to beat Bobby Wagner. And I think that's such a big hole in the middle. I mean, you look at the Rams who just won the Super Bowl. They had a guy at every single level. I mean, you had Aaron Donald on the D-line, Von Miller in the linebacker, and then you have Jalen Ramsey in the secondary. I think if the Eagles can get Dean, I mean, that fills that guy right there in the middle. You do have Javon Hargrave, who was a Pro Bowler, not Aaron Donald. But yeah, I think you need to fill that hole. I do think another position in need is safety. So I do think they need to get a safety with one of these picks too.
Those are the two big gaps that I also was looking at, was the fact that Hamilton, I don't think he'll drop that far. If he does, maybe you got to take him instead of Dean with that first pick, just because I feel like that's a talent you can't miss. But if not, Dean's 100% that guy that you just have to take. He will be your defensive captain. He will be there starting day one and ready to play.
Yeah, and to Alex's point too, let's say if Hamilton slips to like 10, I think if he slips past 10, I think you got to get on the phone and trade up, because that guy, just based on potential alone, you got to take him.
All right. So I'll go through each person's scenario and then give my overall choice. We'll start off. No quarterbacks. Nope. Kenny Pickett is my number 1 quarterback in this year's draft, but I do not want a quarterback. So I have to throw that one out. I apologize, Andrew. Although I do agree with your point that I wouldn't put it past Howie Roseman on Thursday night. Alex scenario. So I am in favor of moving up and moving back with the 2 picks. Very much in favor of trying to get one of those top tier talents from 15, moving up to get it. And then hopefully getting some more picks that are at least one more pick in the first 3 rounds and move back from 18, keep a first round pick, grab another one in that top 100, because I think there's a lot of depth through the top 100 in this draft. So very in favor of that. I I think Jameson Williams is tier 2 to me. He's stay at 15. So I don't necessarily agree with the player. And Daxton Hill is a tweener to me. So I will say that about the players. Hill, I think Nakobe Dean, if anything, is your pick at 18. Just because I love the player, but I think he's falling down boards. So I think he's your guy at 18, not 15. And Drake London, I love. I already noted on this show how he is my number one receiver. I don't think he's going to be there, especially at 18. I don't think he's going to be there at 15. I would love to have him, but I don't think that one falls out of the realm of possibility to me. Although I would love to have both of those players. To me, I'm going with Alec here. I like trading up. I like trading back. I like potentially gaining another pick in that top 100 for a roster you're still trying to build. Howie needs as many shots as possible, right? I would just, and I'm okay with the Williams pick, but I would like to go somewhere other than Daxton Hill with either an Andrew Booth, probably at corner is the corner that I would take if let's say we trade back with Green Bay. Alec, you said early 20s, so 22 there. I think Andrew Booth there at corner, and the safety to me, I love Jaquan Brisker as the top safety behind Hamilton, second safety. So that would be my thought, but I like Alec's scenario. I'm very much in favor of moving up and moving back in this year's draft.
Wait,
Andrew,
can I ask a
go
question?
ahead.
I just want to ask one question. So, Mark, why do you think Drake London's going to be the next JJ Arcega-Whiteside? And Otto, what are your thoughts on Mark's comment about that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Pac-12 is just a weak conference, and I think coming off that ankle injury, we'll see how he does. I'm just not a big fan of USC receivers. I mean, just look at Nelson Aguilar, trash. I think a lot of people are high on Drake London. I'm not necessarily high on him. I don't think his quarterback play was that great, so I'll give him that. They made his quarterback look a little bit better. But yeah, I'm not the biggest guy on Drake London. I'd much rather have a more explosive player like a Jameson Williams or a Garrett Wilson or a Chris Olave, just because I think that's what the league is going towards, is like those shifty receivers. I agree you need that big guy, but I don't know. I don't know if Drake London can be that guy. I think he's overhyped.
I like London. I don't think he's Whiteside. He's bigger. First of all, he's taller. And I think that he's way faster, way better feet, more physical with the ball in his hands. So I just think all around more athletic prospect and bigger for a big guy. So, that's why I have him this high. If this was Alshon Jeffrey or JJ Arcega-Whiteside that lumbers down the field and just goes up and does 50-50 balls, it's a limited talent, but I think that this guy has the athleticism and the feet, honestly, the quickness in his feet to go and really be a problem, more like, and I'm not saying he's these guys, but Megatron had some speed for that size, right? Randy Moss had some speed for that size. I think he has that speed, so that's why I have him up there. And the Eagles don't have a big target at the receiver position. Tyree Jackson was, potentially that guy at tight end. He's coming off an injury. Dallas Goedert's, not that big of a tight end. So I like the positional fit there, but again, don't think he will be available when the Birds pick. So I do have one more throw-in segment, and this was not brought up to any of our guests. This was not brought up to Mark or me before this, and I have not put it together in my own head, so I was not cheating when I did this. Mark, you and I are going to give our scenarios, and the guests are going to pick out of the two of us. So, Mark, do you want to go first or second? Because I'm throwing this at you.
Yeah, I can go first. So here's my scenario. I think in a perfect world, you walk away with Kyle Hamilton, Nakobe Dean. I think most likely they stay at 15 and 18. So my top two players, I would like them to get. I would like them to get Jordan Davis. I think they need some more help on that interior line, or Devontae Wyatt, but I think Davis will be there. I think Wyatt will go a little bit higher. So I would like Davis there on the front line. I think he could help out Hargrave. Cox is on his way out the door, so you need a replacement there on the D line. And then at linebacker, I would love to see Nakobe Dean right there at 18. But I kind of like what Alex said too, in favor of trading up if, a Sauce Gardner or a Kyle Hamilton starts to slip. And then also if you can move back and still get Nakobe Dean and still pick up like an extra second or a third, that would be fantastic too. But those would be my two guys would be Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean from that Georgia defense.
All right, my scenario, I already talked about. I like trading up and I like trading back, right? So the guy to me who's fallen out of the top 10, I have 5 guys that I'm looking at that are talents that I think if they slip to 10, you got to call the Jets and you got to get up there. You got to get ahead of the divisional opponent in the Redskins, right? So that is Kyle Hamilton. That's Ahmad Gardner. That's Kayvon Thibodeau, right? And then the other 2, and it depends on how the board is falling, right? The other 2 that you could potentially trade up for, Derek Stingley, Jermaine Johnson, right? Okay, those are my guys. To me, Kyle Hamilton's fallen outside of the top 10 because of the positional importance at safety, or lack of importance, at least perceived. I think Thibodeau and Gardner are gone. You don't let a talent like that slip when you have the hole that we have at that position. You go to 10, you get Kyle Hamilton, right? And to go up to 10, I'm giving the Jets our second round pick. Okay, giving them 51. You can get a late 4th rounder back from the Jets along with that. And that, according to the draft pick value chart, about evens out. Okay, so there's my scenario there. Going up, getting Hamilton, giving them our second, taking a 4th back. At 18, then it becomes, do you stay put or do you move back? And this is where it gets tough for me. I think that you stay put at 18 at this point. I think that there is a hole at receiver that everybody on this show has already addressed. And I think that if you were to move back outside of 18, you're really looking outside of the top 5 receivers at that point. I think at 18, you're still going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 of those guys that the Eagles have interviewed in Burks, Williams, or Olave, right? And really like. My guy there is Chris Olave. Can run the whole route tree. He can beat you deep, right? He is not Jameson Williams, but he will make the safeties come out of the box, which allows us to run the ball more. And he can run the entire route tree and will get open, which, as we all know, Jalen Hurts needs guys to be open to throw them the football. So I'm moving up Kyle Hamilton, giving up our 2nd rounder, getting a 4th back, and then I'm taking Chris Olave at number 18. Who wants to vote first? Let's do it backwards this time. Hill, you get the vote first, and don't forget, I am your brother.
So, personally speaking, I feel like there's one thing that disappoints me from both, and honestly a little bit about for my own. But anytime I feel like if we move back and we're looking at that receiver, especially for you, Otto, looking at Chris Olave, I like him. He's not the one, if I move back, I'd still pick up. Treylon Burks is a huge guy that is like a major pickup for me. I feel like if you move back, he is a steal. And if not, he is going to be in Rodgers' pocket, because that's 100% who they could get where they're sitting right now and who I think that they might want. So if you're going to move back, I feel like that's the only way I'd go. Hamilton, I'd love to move up. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that with the Jets. Maybe you can dive a little bit more into what you think you're going to actually get there. And then Mark, as well with yours, I don't know, Nakobe Dean, if you're going to be able to get him at 18. Personally, I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I think you're going to see your first linebacker go in the top 10. That's my kind of hot take. I know Andrew had his at the stupid one with quarterbacks and Pickett. But I don't know. I feel like in the end, I got to go with Otto's, because I do believe that safety is going to be the biggest necessity for that defense coming at it, because with McLeod moving on, and then I like Harris being on the Eagles, but he's definitely not a solution, and he's going to be moving on soon. And then you're going to be left with just Epps, who, given he's a good solution there for now, but he's not our solution. But that's what I got to go with. I got to go with Otto.
Oh.
Wait,
Andrew, who are you picking here?
Mark, can you remind me of who you had? Dean at 18, and then who was 15?
Jordan Davis, the D tackle from Georgia. The two Georgia boys.
Well, there you go. Well, first off, Hill, I did look at a mock draft recently, and I had us taking Kenny Pickett at 15. So there you go. It's not so stupid after all. Think about it. I don't think that Harry Roseman's smart enough to trade up for Kyle Hamilton, or at the very least, I don't think he's going to be able to, because who takes that guy seriously? You get on the phone with him, he's a clown. It was like, I just hang the phone up. If Howie Roseman calls me, I am immediately hanging the phone up. I don't want to listen to that guy's voice. I can't stand it. You just can't take him seriously. So I'm gonna have to go with Mark on the.
Did we lose him? I think we lost him.
That's a sign you shouldn't have picked Mark.
That's a sign you don't go D tackle right now. We got too much depth there. It's unbelievable. I feel like, I don't know. I didn't even feel like the need to bring it up.
All right, well, let's hand it over to Alec. I think we got Andrew's. I think it might have misheard him when it said Mark. There was a lot of static, but anyways, I think he said Mark. So we'll hand this over to Alec.
So yeah, I do. The Eagles and Jordan Davis have been linked. They always value the interior, the trenches. Like, that's pretty standard. Nakobe Dean, good value there. You guys know better than me. I just simply don't think they're going to do that. But I also don't think that Howie's going to give up that much to get from 15 to 10 for Kyle Hamilton. I think he would bet on Kyle Hamilton falling even further and paying like a lesser price or no price at all. Still in that world, this is tough because I like the receiver pick. Drum roll. I'm going to go with Mark's pick.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Down goes the Keisker family, baby. Down goes the Keisker family. The dynasty's
I'd like
over.
to rescind my pick and now vote for Hill. Yeah, absolutely. I think, Jordan Davis has been linked to the Birds a lot. Incredible player. If he's the Eagles pick at number 15, I'm going to be a happy guy on draft night, not an upset guy. I'm not believing the Eagles are taking a linebacker until I see it. It's been since 1979. I just, again, I would love to get up there and get one of these guys that, is the top tier talents, premier talents in the draft. And with Kyle Hamilton, to your point, Alec, I agree. I think we've seen so many times where Howie only moves a couple spots to make sure he gets his guy. I just think that if Hamilton's your guy, I've seen so many links to him with Washington at 11, that not only are you trying to jump a division rival, but you're trying to jump them because they're going for the same guy. So, but again, would love Davis and Dean transform the defense. I think that the Eagles are in a good spot heading into Thursday night. And I think we all feel that way. Mark, go ahead, do your victory tour.
Let's go, baby. That's a big win. Thank you, Alec. Thank you, Andrew. Love you guys. My guys right there.
All right. Well, that is it. That is what we have for our Eagles-focused Green Room podcast episode here. We are 2 nights away from the NFL draft. Cannot wait to, hear who's picked, see who's picked, and feel that excitement for these guys joining the Midnight Green. We will do one more episode with Mark and I's mock draft tomorrow night, and we'll be posting that before the draft. But just want to quickly say thank you to all of our guests here for joining us tonight, taking the time out, providing some insight as to what they believe the Birds are going to do on Thursday night. And we'll see whose scenario out of really all 5 of us is the most accurate come Thursday night. Everybody have a good night and go Birds.